Welcome to KyCPA's Behind the Numbers. Today we will be discussing the CPA Evolution. We have Julia Woislaw, and she is the Senior Manager of the CPA Evolution, and we also have Jan Taylor-Morris, and she is the Director of Academic and Residence at the AICPA. Welcome, and I'm going to just start off and ask you just to provide us an overview of CPA Evolution and why this came to be, and also what problems it solves.
Thanks, Kimberly. Yeah, I'd be happy to answer that question. So a few years ago, the AICPA and NASBA really started to notice a lot of things changing in the marketplace and a lot of things changing about what newly licensed CPAs really needed to know when they started in practice. We saw changes in technology, things like big data and data analytics, machine learning, automation, all these things that were disrupting the way CPAs do business, who CPAs do business with, who they provide services to, how they provide those services, all of these changes coming. And we saw that the profession really needed to evolve. We needed to adapt and be flexible to really prepare CPA candidates that meet the needs of the marketplace. So that's why, together with NASBA, we created the CPA Evolution Initiative. And it's an initiative that's transforming the way the CPA licensure model is now and will be in the future. So where we've landed, we've heard from somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 different stakeholders over the past few years throughout this process. We did a lot of research and data gathering. We looked at a lot of different options, and we landed on a new model that we call the core plus discipline model. And the way that licensure model works is it starts with a robust core that includes accounting, auditing, tax, and technology that all CPA candidates are required to complete. Those are the core skills of the profession that everyone told us and that we can see in the marketplace and we hear from firms are really necessary to the CPA profession. But something we also heard from firms is that candidates need to demonstrate deeper skill sets in other areas of the profession. That because that on-ramp to becoming a CPA is shortening and CPAs are being asked to know more earlier in their career than they used to, they really need to be able to demonstrate some deeper skill sets. So after candidates complete that robust core, they will select a discipline in which to demonstrate deeper knowledge. And we've identified 3 initial disciplines. Those are tax compliance and planning, information systems and controls, and business analysis and reporting. So again, all candidates complete the same core, and then they select one of those 3 disciplines. And that's the model that the new CPA exam will take, which will launch in January 2024. So again, we came to this conclusion after researching the way a lot of other professions do things, after looking at what firms were telling us they need. And this new model is really adaptive and flexible. That's my favorite part of the new model. It's so much more flexible than the one we have now. So in the future, as the profession continues to change, we can add more disciplines, take disciplines away. We'll be able to evolve so much faster than we do currently. So that's kind of the big picture overview of the model.
Thank you. What does that mean for the uniform CPA exam?
So we expect that a new uniform CPA exam will launch in January 2024, and it will follow that core plus discipline outline that I talked about. So we expect that there will be 3 core sections and then the discipline section. And the specific content of what the exam looks like is determined by a CPA exam practice analysis, and that's a research initiative that our exam team here at the AICPA undertakes when we change the exam. So everything we're talking about with the exam is just what we think might happen, because all of that is determined through the practice analysis, but we can talk about where we are right now, what we think that might look like. So right now, we think that the exam will include those 3 core sections I mentioned: accounting, auditing, and tax, and then those 3 discipline sections where candidates select a discipline. And technology is woven throughout all of those sections. We expect to issue a blueprint for public comment in mid-2022, and that would be everyone's opportunity to see the outline of the exam, to comment on it. That'll be issued for public exposure for about 6 months. And then we will announce a new exam in 2023, and the new exam will begin in January 2024.
What's next for the students and the CPA candidates?
Well, CPA candidates right now are going to be taking the same CPA exam they've been taking. So this is going, CPA Evolution is launching in 2024. And so what we're doing right now is trying to inform our academics who will be teaching that next generation of CPA candidates, those 2024 candidates. So we are developing a model curriculum for them that we are going to have a June 15, 16 joint NASBA, well, joint AICPA, NASBA, AAA conference. It'll be a webinar free to our faculty to be able to showcase for them kind of what we think they need to be including in their curriculum that's currently missing. We did a gap analysis, and of course, there is lots of information out there. All people have to do is kind of Google AICPA, CPA Evolution gap analysis to see articles, a blog post, or the actual analysis report itself. And what we found were in some key areas where there are some holes, if you will, in most curriculums, not everyone's, but in most universities where we are not quite covering what the practice analysis has showed us needs to be covered and is therefore going to be covered on the exam. So I think students are going to be taken care of by their faculty, but the one current students are probably for the most part, going to be taking the current iteration of the exam. And those students that are, say, freshmen right now that might be going into the 2024, we're hoping that the curriculums will be revised for them accordingly.
And I know both of you are going to be attending our Kentucky Accounting Educators Conference in May. And what will you be covering at that conference?
Well, I think Julia will probably be covering much of what she's just talked about really quickly here is the kind of the what's happening with the evolution of the CPA exam. I'll probably spend a little bit more time going through some of that gap analysis. We also just recently conducted a second round of surveys with faculty and students, and we have some consistent but relatively new numbers to report out regarding what faculty are saying, what students are saying about the CPA evolution. And so we'll be talking about that as well. We'll also have Dan Dustin joining us, who's going to be sharing some state board topics and talking a little bit about how all of this is being impactful on the state boards and their responses.
How are the AICPA and NASBA supporting the academic programs and educators, and what resources have you set up for them?
A lot of resources. At AICPA, we have our academic resource hub, and it has right now, we haven't hit 300, but we are close to that in resources that can support. One of the things that we plan to do, and as I have, and I will probably say this to your listeners in May, is we're not going to be able to have this in June, but my goal is by the end of the year to have at least one resource for every learning objective in our model curriculum. And so if there is an area that someone, has to now start teaching that they've never taught before, uh, I would recommend to them to come to the Academic Resource Hub and check there first to see what kind of resources we have. We're not only going to put resources that we have, but also we're trying to curate resources from other sites, and we'll list those. We'll link to them if we can. If we can't, then we will at least be able to give a reference to those. So I think we're doing a lot to provide that. We're also willing to speak to individual schools as we can. We, of course, have our own, a lot of work that we're trying to do with everyone, but we're certainly willing to go out and try to have conversations with faculty that are truly concerned about trying to update their curriculum.
If someone wants to know more about anything about the CPA Evolution, where would they go to find that?
So I'd recommend going to our website, evolutionofcpa.org. You can find a lot of really great information there. We have actually a recorded webcast. If you go to our For Accounting Educators tab or our For Students and Candidates tab, we have a recorded webcast that includes all the background on CPA evolution. So really in depth how we got to the new model, what other models we considered, the benefits of the model, our plan for rollout, all of that. So I definitely recommend watching that if this is your first time hearing about CPA evolution. You can also find, if you're a faculty member, you can find FAQs for you. You can find videos and links to all the resources Jan talked about. You can also find resources to share with your students on there, like a short video, FAQs for them, a one-pager, things like that. So it has kind of our one-stop shop for everything. So evolutionofcpa.org. If you have questions about CPA evolution, you can email us at feedback@evolutionofcpa.org. We read all of those emails and respond. So please feel free to send us any questions you might have.
Thank you for joining us today, ladies, and we look forward to seeing you at the Kentucky Accounting Educators Conference. Again, if you have any questions, you can always go to evolutionofcpa.org or email the feedback at evolutionofcpa.org. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shirley.